as a Zoom webinar to allow for public participation and comments. The Contra Costa Transportation Authority does not condone hate speech in any form. We continually strive to make life better for all members of our community and create an atmosphere where everyone feels a sense of safety and belonging. We ask that anyone who wishes to speak does so with civility, respect, and kindness for others. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organizations, but providing such information is voluntary. Citizens participating in person wishing to speak should submit a public speaker card to the clerk. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice on the meeting agenda will be provided to the members. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand in Zoom or submit a public speaker card, and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
All right, next we'll go to a roll call. Jackie, if you could do a roll call, please.
Member Byrne?
Present.
Member Byron? Member Wilson?
Here.
Member Foster?
Aye.
Member Karimi? Member Keeshan? Member Olson?
Present.
Member Greenblatt?
Here.
Member Riker?
Here.
Member Simmons?
Here.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Here.
Chair Sarmiento?
Here.
Okay, we have majority members present with Member Karimi and Member Keeshan absent.
All right, thank you. And I just want to quickly mention, Committee Member Byron, I think it's her first meeting. If I heard correctly, you're the new West County citizen rep, so welcome. All right, the next item on the agenda is public comment. Jackie, have we received any written comment? Public comment.
We have not received any written public comment, and I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here in the room wishing to speak during public comment on an item not on the agenda? If so, please submit a speaker card. Okay, I guess we don't have any, correct, Jackie? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, that concludes public comment. The next item on the agenda is election of chair and vice chair for the 2025 CBPAC meetings. And I just need some nominations.
Could I just say something quickly? My alternate, Gaia Sonatina, is in the audience.
All right, thanks. All right, so just looking for nominations for chair and vice chair for 2025. Bruce?
I nominate Robert Sarmiento.
Second.
All right. Okay, I guess we just do the roll call vote for that? Or I guess any comments, I guess, from committee members or the public?
To confirm, this was for chair, to continue being chair?
Bruce and...
Yes, confirmed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll do a roll call for Chair of Sarmiento to continue. Member Byrne?
Aye.
Member Byron?
Aye.
Member Wilson?
Aye.
Member Foster?
Aye.
Member Karimi? Member Keeshan? Member Olson?
Aye.
Member Greenblatt?
Yes.
Member Riker?
Aye.
Member Simmons?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Yes.
And Chair Sarmiento?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously with members Karimi and Keeshan absent.
Okay, thank you for that. We now need to nominate a vice chair for the 2025 CBPAC meeting. So if any of the committee members have any nominations?
I nominate Chris Weeks to continue as vice chair.
And I second.
Okay, so we have I guess a motion or nomination by Committee Member Riker and a second by Committee Member Byrne. Or I guess any comments, questions? All right, I guess we can do a roll call vote, please, Jackie.
Okay, Member Byrne?
Aye.
Member Byron?
Yes.
Member Wilson?
Aye.
Member Karimi? Member Foster?
Aye.
Member Keeshan? Member Olson?
Aye.
Member Greenblatt?
Aye.
Member Riker?
Aye.
Member Simmons?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Yes.
Chair Sarmiento?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously with members Karimi and Keeshan absent.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is the consent calendar, which includes a summary of actions from the July 22, 2024 meeting. Are there any changes or comments from committee members? Okay, hearing none. Jackie, are there any public comments on this item that you received?
No public comment received and no hands are raised.
Okay, with that, do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Committee Member Greenblatt
A second.
and second by Committee Member Weeks. If Jackie, take a roll call vote, please.
Member Byrne?
Yes.
Member Byron?
Yes.
Member Wilson?
Yes.
Member Foster?
Aye.
Member Karimi? Member Keeshan? Member Olson?
Aye.
Member Greenblatt?
Yes.
Member Riker?
Yes.
Member Simmons?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Yes.
Chair Sarmiento?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously with members Karimi and Keeshan absent.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to regular agenda items. Item 5, we do have one change here. We're going to bump up, or let's discuss first item 5B, which is an update on the development of the Innovate 680 program, Martinez Amtrak Station Shared Mobility Hub Project. I think we have CCTA staff who provide that update.
Thank you, Chair Sarmiento. I'm covering for Jay Zhang, who is sick today, so I appreciate you moving the item up to accommodate schedule conflicts. We're here today to provide an update on the Martinez Amtrak Station Mobility Hubs project. We came before this body a few months ago as we were allocating ARM3 funding to start the engineering environmental phase for the project, which the ARM3 funding is supporting. Okay, so today we're just going to provide a project overview, an update on the concept that we've been developing, and also looking ahead on some key activities such as public outreach and engagement, and then a summary of schedule and funding moving forward. So the overall Shared Mobility Hub projects is one project under the Innovate 680 program, which is a corridor-wide approach to address congestions on I-680, and the Mobility Hubs project is one of 6 in the group. We've completed a feasibility study that studied 8 hubs along the corridor, and we completed that in 2023, and 3 of them are considered as more of a priority hubs to tackle because they support a 680 Express bus that we're working on with LAFTA and County Connection, and that Express bus will be operated by a hydrogen fueling bus. So to support that effort, the 3 hubs are Amtrak Station in Martinez, Walnut Creek BART Station, and at Bollinger Canyon Road in Bishop Ranch. And those 3 hubs are where the express bus will stop. So for this project in the Martinez Amtrak Station really is to increase the accessibility of the station, improving the efficiency for all modes, bus, bike, and ped, and also just really enhance how they all connect. The project is currently implemented in 2 phases. The first phase is what the ARM3 funding is supporting. It is a small grant of $3 million. So how we're setting it up is that it will support phase 1, where some of it will just be design only, particularly that first bullet under phase one is the south parking lot reconfiguration, which Kimberly Horn staff will be presenting in a moment. That first bullet, south parking lot reconfiguration, will be for design only. And then while those 4 bullets remaining, the pickup drop-off area, signage and wayfinding, e-bikes and EV charging, and then some off-site bike ped improvements, those will be designed and constructed under phase one. And then phase two is not quite funded at this time, and it's really most of it's on the northern side, north of the railroad tracks or the Amtrak station, and then implementing TSP and other off-site bike ped improvements. Oops, okay. So I'm gonna have Ryan Dole, who's here from Kimberly Horn, to present on the concepts, and I will advance the slide for him.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, try that again. Good morning, everyone. We want to provide a quick overview of what's been taking place over the last couple months, particularly getting to this point of a 10% conceptual design. So first and foremost, what we have been looking at on the south parking lot is a way to reconfigure the existing parking lot as well as the transit bays that currently run along the outer edge of the parking lot to make it a little bit more efficient, primarily to make the buses so that they stop closer to the Amtrak station. So we went through several iterations to really focus on maintaining the existing number of bus bays. So there's 6 currently, and so we are under this configuration able to maintain that, but then also provide 3 layover bays to provide some circulation and recirculation as buses turn over between routes. We also looked at ways to maximize and maintain parking on site. So right now we are currently maintaining 52 spots. In future design phases, we will be looking at how to enhance the waiting areas. That may include larger transit shelters, amenities, real-time information signs, and those kinds of features that enhance the transit users' experience. We did also partner with the city and the transit agencies that utilize this to look at circulation for buses, how to make it a little bit more efficient. And so we do have where buses do circulate either to the left or the right around the area. But then we also looked at opportunities to maybe circulate from Ferry, but this ultimately was determined to be most preferred by the various stakeholders. We also looked at bike and pedestrian access, and so there is a short segment of a multi-use trail that right next to the creek there, but then also a bike lane to provide direct access for bicyclists. In future phases, we're going to also explore areas of putting green infrastructure, maybe mobile bike services and amenities that may go directly adjacent to that where the entrance road label is. So that is some space that will be explored later. Sorry, next slide. All right, so on the other side, we have been looking at various ways to get bicyclists and pedestrians into, as well as vehicles. For the most part, it's staying somewhat similar to the existing configuration, but we've been having a lot of discussions with the local businesses and the stakeholders to identify ways to provide more bike access, particularly along Ferry, but we are also exploring options along SDO. Right now, as shown, this would require some removable parking to provide the bike lanes, but again, we're still working through that through the outreach activities. We are looking at a raised intersection at the entrance for the east-west frontage road at Ferry, partially to do some traffic calming for pedestrians as they cross. We also are investigating what implications that may have with the rail crossing that is directly adjacent. But right now, we definitely are hoping to improve that and provide some traffic calming features. We looked at different opportunities for providing the cycle track along that frontage road, explored it on the north side as well as the south side. We are currently proposing it on the south side to avoid any significant impact to the train station area. There's a monument and other features that we really don't want to impact. This also allowed us to provide angle parking and a dedicated pickup drop-off area, as well as maintain ADA access. So that's currently why we've settled on this. The parking lot that is shown there, it currently has one EV charge station. We'll be exploring expanding charging for that area.
I'll close this out. So current activities for public engagement and outreach that Ryan just briefly talked about includes updating our project fact sheet, which we can use to outreach to the community and the downtown area and business owners. We're also finalizing a project outreach plan as part of that effort. We already have reached out to stakeholders in the past few weeks, mainly city staff and elected officials. We're hoping to go to city council to give them an overview of the project as well as an update. It's looking more like January with the holidays coming up. We've also vetted through that transit center concept that Ryan just talked about with the transit agency. So County Connection, Tri-Delta, and WestCat have reviewed that concept, the circulation of the buses. We had a couple conversations with the property owners in the downtown area, trying to understand their feelings about removal of parking and getting feedback on that front. I think there's some challenges that we need to kind of tackle there, as well as the state law has removed some parking due to the daylight rules that went into effect, I believe, early November. So the city is contending with that as well, and loss of parking. And then lastly, this body, we're here today to get any feedback that you may have at this time. Maybe not at this meeting in particular. If you have comments, we're happy to get them via email and whatnot. So this is our schedule and funding plan. So as I said, phase 1 is funded with the RM3 plus this $3 million grant that we received through MTC. So in total it's $3.692 million, and that funds what Ryan shared earlier in the drawing. But the transit center or the bus circulation area, that is for design only, not construction, and we will be seeking additional funding opportunities to fund that, and we're working on an SB1 application actually due tomorrow for this hub and 2 other hubs that I noted earlier. The phase 1 schedule is shown as that we will complete environmental clearance hopefully by September of next year, and design sort of overlapping that, and be done with design in the summer of 2026 and go into construction early 2027. And then again, next steps is to complete sort of our public outreach activities and then complete the environmental clearance and move on to design after that. I think that's our last slide. We're happy to take any questions or comments at this time. It's not advancing.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Ryan. First, just want to turn to committee members. Have any questions or comments for the presenters? Okay, committee member Byron.
Thank you. I'm just wondering how much bike parking is at this hub right now and what your plans are for changing that. And I'm also wondering whether it's secure parking, or you're considering secure bike parking for the e-bikes.
Yes, existing there are several bike lockers that are positioned close to the Amtrak station. So the intent is those would be removed and we would expand it. Right now, we haven't gone into detailed evaluation of what that could look like, but we are anticipating a variety of bike lockers, mobile retail. So it could be kind of opportunities to buy replacement tires and those kinds of things. Also, bike repair stations. So yeah, that will be explored in future phases.
I just encourage you to keep in mind that a lot of the e-bikes are long bikes, so there's a larger space requirement for those. I don't know if you're considering a bike, just like a bike area. I can't remember what they're called. The ones that you can just ride your bike in rather than a secure locker. Like they have the ones.
That's a bike station.
A bike station, yes.
Yeah, we do have a desire to expand and make it as large as possible. And also we're trying to explore a little bit further where it should be located on the site, just because of some of the constraints of as we reconfigure it. Actually, just back. All right. So I had mentioned one idea is potentially placing it somewhere along the entrance road. There is a space right there that's currently providing parking that may be mobile retail for like food trucks, but then also could be bike lockers. We are also looking at potentially if we're expanding out along the transit center and doing some additional plaza space, would it make more sense to put it up towards kind of near where it is right now? But it will kind of play hand in hand with transit, the transit shelters, as well as with bike facilities and how much space they need.
And did you say how much is there right now?
I do not remember, but it's just, I think only like half a dozen bike lockers at this moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Vice Chair Weeks.
Hi, just to build on that, thanks for those great questions. I don't know if you were in Palo Alto back in the day when they had a bike station that was integrated into the Caltrain station at University. And they did a partnership with Caltrain to have the bike station as part of the old baggage room that was part of the Caltrain station. And that was a really good partnership, worked really well for many years. They did a partnership with Palo Alto Bicycles, I think it was, to do retail there for a while. And they shifted over primarily to electronic card access for people locking their bikes during the day. So a lot of commuters are using that, Stanford students. So I'd urge you to take a peek at that and their plans for that. I kept, while you were talking, Ryan, I kept thinking there's not much discussion of how to combine this train station, the Amtrak station, and this new bus facility, and the pedestrian crossing that goes over the top of the train tracks there. And maybe a little bit more attention to the integration of multi-use, multi-mode transportation. So people who are using this to use Amtrak, maybe zip the two together a little bit and see if you guys can partner, because you might be able to get a bike facility that's inside the luggage room of the Amtrak there and get a lot more room that's indoor space closer to where the destination would be for people that are going on longer trips and things like that. Just an idea there. And the bike station idea is very exciting for commuters. It's probably primarily for a commuter service, but having some longer term bike parking that's secure, similar to what Palo Alto was doing, I would urge you to look into that. I had a couple questions of my own. One of them was the e-lockers thing. You mentioned lockers. Are the ones there e-lockers, or are they, okay?
Yeah, what you had mentioned earlier with the tap card.
Okay, great, yeah. So that's the path that we should definitely be going with that. But I wanted to ask about the Marina Vista bike facilities. And there's, in some of these drawings, there's just a discussion that says existing bike lanes. And there's a lot of kind of stenciled in bulb outs and islands and things like that. And if you zoom in on the picture, it's right over where the bike lane was in the past. So will those bulb outs and islands and things like that have a bike facility going through them, or that's what you're hoping to design next? Was there some thought of that?
Sorry, just to clarify, you're talking about there's an existing Class 2 along Marina Vista?
Yeah, so you can see at the intersections there's bulb outs that are drawn into the intersections at Estudio and looks like at Ferry, and then there's a triangular island stenciled into there also. Yep. So I've seen bulb outs designed that have bike facilities that go through them. Was that the thought along this corridor?
So, yeah, we weren't anticipating too many impacts to the facilities on Marina Vista. We did look at circulation into the station, so we are providing a new bike lane on that entrance road. That it is kind of pinched in, it's a little hard to see on the screen here, but it is pinched between the bus lane and the hardscape area off to the right. So there will be a dedicated northbound bike lane there. Outside of that, we are maintaining essentially existing facilities at Marina Vista at that entrance. So we are making the current triangle smaller to be able to provide the various lane configuration for buses in and out. But outside of that, the bike access and facilities on Marina Vista will remain the same in the current iteration.
Okay, so it looks like it's laid over the top of the bike lane, but the bike lane will be maintained in the roadway there.
Yeah, that's where it transitions from a bike lane to a shared facility.
Oh, okay, so there's a sharrow at that bulb out?
Yeah,
Is that what you're
currently,
saying?
yeah.
Oh, currently?
Yeah,
Okay. Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, let me see. I might have one more here. 1 second. Go ahead. Sorry. Thank you.
All right, let me start on the left here. Committee Member Olson?
Yeah, I would like to go on record as saying bicyclists hate sharrows with a passion. It's an invitation for the 30-pound bicycle to go out and fight with a 3,000-pound car for space on the road. That's without regard to the weight of the bicyclist or the weight of the motorist in their motorized wheelchair. Please do the best you can to eliminate the sharrow. Make real space on the road, please, for bicycles. Thank you.
Committee Member Foster?
Thank you, Bruce. I do share your concern too, because in Pittsburgh, when we had started to add more bike lanes, we were seeing people on mobility scooters use the bike lanes. So let's hope, however, we're designing these projects that they're very ADA friendly, not just for parking, just to get around too, especially on people with mobility scooters, because they do use the bike facilities. Thank you.
All right, Committee Member Byrne?
Yes, thank you. My comment has to do with where this two-way cycle track ends on the west side. I would recommend just somehow integrating that connection into something, as currently just kind of dead ends. So either make like a really obvious ending to it, or somehow integrate that into the other facilities.
Community Member Riker?
Maybe somebody on the committee knows, but I think the Bay Trail, there's a missing link around this section for the Bay Trail. So this could be a nice amenity to eventually have on the Bay Trail if there's a bike fix-it station. And even if it's only 2 blocks of cycle track, that's always a nice addition for that. So that's it, just a comment.
Actually, do you have?
Sorry, one more to add. Sorry about that. The Alhambra and Marina Vista, there's this kind of pedestrian access that goes kind of through the marsh and a bridge that goes into that side of the, I guess, the station. And it is used by cyclists to access the station, just to avoid the main in and out driveway. And it would be interesting to explore maybe the potential of having that be an alternate way for cyclists to enter, since there's many bike paths that go that end up in this area, and shooting right into the station at that angle, I think, would be very attractive to cyclists. Thanks.
Committee Member Foster?
Back to the mobility scooters using the bike lanes, let's make sure that if the streets are just dedicated, bike lanes, and it's no parking. Let's make the signs prominent, because if you're blocking a cyclist, you're also blocking a person with disabilities.
Vice Chair Weeks.
I just have to say it. The Amtrak has a bathroom associated with their facility. They only allow people who are ticket holders of Amtrak to use the bathroom there. So, and I understand why it's open very late because of the area. They want to have more control over it. But I think that this is going to pose an issue for the station in the long run, especially if we have increased service of regional buses, and if a regional bus user can't get in to use the restroom, the only restroom that's there. I think that that needs to be coordinated and clarified, whether bus users can use it, whether cyclists can use it, and if it's going to be open to the public, who's going to take care of it and be in charge of it, and those kinds of things. Thanks.
Committee Member Olson.
Yeah, the combination to the restroom is 1224. They haven't changed it in years. They probably won't. That's the same for men and for women.
All right, thank you, Committee Member Olson. Any other comments on this item? Committee Member Byron.
Just real quick, just to keep in mind that maybe when you're doing the wayfinding, that a lot of recreational riders are getting off the train to, go to the regional bike trails. So just something to keep in your back pocket.
All right, Committee Member Wilson.
Just on that, and on Member Riker's comment, I'm sure you are aware, but the Park District is working on an extension from the Bay Trail from Nedgley Staging Area at Carquinez Regional Park down to the station that actually crosses the train tracks at Baralessa. So yeah, we should coordinate on wayfinding to get to that stretch of Bay Trail to be able to connect people into the park.
I just want to add a couple of comments. Actually, you remember Wilson, that was actually going to be one of my comments. Yeah, just that there's East Park District's their effort, and I actually just want to see whether it's wayfinding or any other improvements to connect that, I guess, that last small gap from Baralessa to the Amtrak station. And then one other comment, I was just curious, more of a question. Just curious if there was any thought about putting a two-way cycle track on Ferry instead of the as is shown on the design there. It's a bike facility on each side. Just curious if there's any thought on two-way cycle track.
We did consider it briefly. The one thought would be what happens on the other once it gets across, or also if you just filter everybody into the transit center. So one of the, mainly primarily of what happens on the other side and how you would handle a cycle track across the rail crossing. This seemed like a more straightforward solution at this moment. And then, but yeah, we did consider it briefly.
Okay, thanks. All right, any other committee member comments? All right, seeing or hearing none. Jackie, do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment received and no hands raised.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Ryan. All right. We'll move back to jump back to item 5A, which is a review of the complete streets checklist for compliance with MTC Resolution 4493. Each of the checklists listed here will be presented individually, and each presenter will have 5 minutes for their presentation. The first checklist will be presented by Matt Kelly from CCTA staff for the San Pablo Avenue Multimodal Corridor Project.
I have a question. Just explain to me what the checklist is and what we're doing today.
I'll turn that over to Colin, Colin Clark to answer that question.
Sure. So Colin Clark with CCTA. So there's the policy resolution from MTC 4493 that was most recently updated in 2022 that provides an update to the process for the Complete Streets checklist and the review process. So basically, CBPAC has the authority, if you will, to provide input on draft Complete Streets checklists, and then CBPAC and in coordination with the project sponsor, they would, do what they can to address input from CBPAC, for example, and then submit a revised Complete Streets checklist to MTC for review. So basically, policy resolution 4493 is the one with all the kind of details, but looking at accommodation of transit, bicycling, walking, and all that kind of stuff is part of this review.
So today are we approving the checklist, or we're advising, or what happens
So
now?
technically, there's no formal action other than review and provide input. Jackie, do you have anything to add to that one?
Yeah, they're informational for review and input comment.
Okay, and then what happens next with the checklist?
Basically, MTC will review it, for compliance with the policy.
Okay.
In the case of today's checklists, the reason for them being on the agenda, for the most part, is either they're requesting funding allocation from RM3, Regional Measure 3 from MTC, or in most cases, each of these projects are in the context of safe routes to transit and Bay Trail, the funding program that's going to be a multi-cycle program from MTC. So basically, the applicants submitted their full application October 14th and are being, undergoing MTC review as we speak. And then one of the, process checklist items is the Complete Streets checklist and making sure that the CBPAC reviews it and provides input for each project. Yeah.
All right, so we'll turn it over.
Chair, I have another question.
Go ahead. Committee Matt, go ahead.
So the comments that we make today, those will get relayed to is it just CCTA staff that's going to modify the checklist, or do the comments get forwarded to MTC, the final reviewer of the checklist?
So it's a little complicated because there's multiple project sponsors. So one of the project sponsors, or actually two, I guess, happen to be CCTA, coincidentally. So in those cases, yes, CCTA would be, coordinating to make revisions to address those comments, and providing that as part of their submittal to MTC, and then the other project sponsors would be doing something similar.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, no other initial comments or questions here. I'll turn it over to Matt to provide this update.
Thank you, Chair Sarmiento. Good morning, afternoon, somewhere in between the two. Matt Kelly, Principal Transportation Planner with the Authority, here to present the Complete Streets checklist for the wonderful San Pablo Avenue in West Contra Costa. Oh, Jackie wants my camera on for some reason. Okay, let's get this thing going. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to describe the project to you. I'm not going to describe the Complete Streets checklist. The Complete Streets checklist is kind of memorializing a lot of different criteria that we're meeting. But really today I'm going to talk about the project, and then I'll go over kind of some highlights of the checklist on my last slide. So the project that we're talking about today is the San Pablo Avenue Multimodal Corridor Project. This is it's designed to improve multimodal mobility, efficiency and safety on San Pablo Avenue to meet current and future transportation needs, and really also to protect the local context, the West County Main Street in El Cerrito, Richmond, and San Pablo. So, and there are those goals on the right to deal with growth, to improve the quality and comfort for all users, for all modes, enhance safety, support local land use policies and economic development. That's really important for the cities along the corridor, and promote equitable transportation solutions. So here's some background on the corridor study. It began back in 2017. It's been through 2 phases. Initially, WICTAC and CCTA coordinated with Alameda CTC, who had started this study at their end of the corridor. We expanded it all the way up to the Richmond Mall area. So really runs that entire corridor between kind of City Hall and downtown Oakland and Hilltop Mall, Contra Costa College area of San Pablo, Richmond. So phase 1 work really focused on doing an analysis of the existing conditions. What does transit look like in the corridor today? What does traffic look like? What bike and ped facilities are there? Worked on some initial concepts for the corridor. We did forecasting out into the future with our travel demand model to see what impacts, what we'd be looking like, not just today, but what things would be looking like in 2040. And then we did some public outreach and surveys. So phase 2 work really focused on Contra Costa County. We kind of bifurcated from the Alameda County process. At that point, they were a little further along and had a lot more money. So they were working more on implementation. We wanted to focus on our part of the corridor because one big reason was that the width of San Pablo Avenue and Contra Costa varies basically almost block to block. So we wanted to see what fits in the corridor where. We wanted to see what the impacts on traffic would be if a lane was converted, taken away from mixed traffic and dedicated to buses. If you were to put a protected bike facility on San Pablo Avenue, where would you need to remove parking? What would the actual benefits of a bus lane be? What could you do to improve safety, really, for those vulnerable users, the pedestrians, the bike riders, and the transit users? And then, what did the actual stakeholder jurisdictions who are on the corridor think of these improvements? So existing conditions. So there are 3 bus routes using the corridor, the 72, RM, and just 72. 7-minute combined, they have 7-minute service south of McDonald Avenue. There are some bike lanes, mostly in San Pablo, but a few little segments have been constructed in El Cerrito, and one is currently under construction in North El Cerrito. There are long gaps between pedestrian crossings, lots of uncontrolled crossings, and lots of weirdly aligned intersections that don't allow for safe crossing. We looked at who's driving on the corridor, and what we found is a big chunk of car trips, 1/3, are people diverting off of I-80. So people who don't really need to be using San Pablo Avenue. They aren't shopping on the corridor. They are just driving through, coming from someplace else. And so all the data we found indicates that there is, a large potential for mode shift, and mostly from auto to bus. So during peak hour, those buses spend 57% of their time stuck in congestion. Without improvements, in 2035, that will go up to 70%. Looking at safety, the corridor has a long history of safety issues, almost 300 injuries or fatalities. That's just in a 5-year period. 73 of those involved pedestrians or cyclists, including 3 deaths of those modal users. So some of the solutions we considered in our analysis were, things you're probably used to seeing for transit: queue jump, moving the stops around really on the far side of intersections, in-lane stops, so maybe they're just stopping right in the lane and you build the stop out to them. Transit signal priority, so when buses come, the signals stay green, and then bus rapid transit, where buses actually have an exclusive lane. We looked at bike lanes, new bike crossings, protected intersections, transit islands, give people a place to stop in the middle, and those also work for pedestrians, where we looked at widening of sidewalks, new and improved crossings, pedestrian scale lighting, and just general accessibility improvements. So our key takeaways was, without doing any of these improvements, and really doing something with traffic, congestion will increase by about 70%, impacting all modes. We found that center running bus lanes, exclusive lanes, provide 30 to 45% transit travel time savings, and would be 10% faster than side running. So we already know that center running is kind of superior in terms of operations to side running if you were to go with an exclusive lane for transit. And those side running lanes, they basically avoid a lot of the challenges you have along the curbs, and parking and bike activities are less affected by center running bus lanes. A low stress bike facility, however, cannot be provided through the entire corridor. We found that through certain parts of the corridor, a parallel bike facility may be the best option. Right now, if you've been on San Pablo Avenue, you know there's plentiful on-street parking, but there's a lot of new development, especially in El Cerrito, going in that may affect some of that parking availability. And right now, opinions across the corridor are, vary for the types of improvements that would be supported. So one thing we feel we really need to do is come up with consensus and a corridor-wide vision for these improvements. So what Phase 2 recommended was 2 main elements. One focused on safety improvements at 40 to 45 intersections, really 70 kind of improvements at those locations. These include a variety of things, those new pedestrian crossings, and really focusing on kind of, lighted, signalized crossings, protected, high visibility, improved bicycle crossings across San Pablo Avenue, upgraded accessibility, and a lot of that is kind of transit accessibility, remove free right turns where possible, bulb outs where possible, bus bulbs at the rapid bus stops, 72-hour stops, and then relocating and consolidating bus stops where possible. Element 2 is basically a BRT demonstration project. We'd actually like to make it permanent as opposed to demonstration, but there was initial interest in the southern part of the corridor. San Pablo Avenue wasn't quite as interested as El Cerrito and Richmond. We are coordinating with AC Transit because of all the, well, one, they would be operating any BRT most likely, and this would have, you know, a lot of impacts on their operations. We need to, as I mentioned earlier, further engage with local jurisdictions and stakeholders and the public and the businesses, and really come up with a unified vision for the corridor. And then what to do about a bike facility, how to include that in the overall project. So, moving on to phase 3. The proposal, and that's why we're here today, phase 3 is now the project. So it's really to sell the project to the locals. Stakeholders being the local jurisdictions, transit providers, and Caltrans, who really operates the first about mile and a half of the corridor in Contra Costa County to Cutting Boulevard. The businesses, we think these are probably the most important audience we need to reach out to, and then community members and advocacy groups. So phase 3 would focus on a very robust community outreach level on those 3 audiences, really knocking on doors, especially of businesses, talking to every business, letting them know what the impacts to their business would be. And then to kind of support that, we do an economic analysis impact study of these improvements in the corridor, so we can sell the improvements to the jurisdictions, to the business owners. We think this is a strong, you know, will really help come up with a cohesive vision for the corridor, knowing what the benefits will be. And we are hoping to use RM3 I-80 Corridor Transit Improvement Category funds. Our board last month adopted a resolution supporting the RM3 allocation. The project must comply with MTC's transit-oriented developments policy, and what that really means is that CCT had to commit to this today, but really it's the local jurisdictions must zone around station locations, the minimum density meeting the TOC requirements. So basically, once we identify station locations, it will be up to the cities to zone appropriately around those station locations, or there will not be any further RM3 money available for this project. And so our hope is to get funding, or the RM3 funding, in December, and retain a consultant to do all the work in early 2025. So that's the project, the Complete Streets Checklist Summary. You know, we feel the project meets MTC's criteria based on the location. That's what most of it is about. Where's the project? It's on a high injury network. It's in an equity priority community. It's on a priority transit corridor. We've identified priority pedestrian areas as part of our Countywide Bike and Ped plan. It's also a priority development area and lots of other things that I didn't have room to list. And it also meets the design guidance, the multimodal design. It incorporates NACTO and ATB, CB guidance. It improves the local low transit stress network for bike facilities, and it has improvements consistent with both Bay Area's Vision Zero system and Contra Costa's Vision Zero plan. So that's all I have today. I can take any questions.
All right, thank you for that presentation, Matt. Turn it over to committee members if any questions or comments. Committee member Simmons.
All right, thank you, Matt. That was great. One thing that we've got here are a list of goals, and you mentioned some statistics. So it would be nice to make sure that you tie in metrics with those goals so we can actually go back and measure the improvements that were made. And there's a lot of different groups here that have competing interests, business owners, us recreational users, et cetera. And so having those metrics would make it a nice sell at the end of the project to say, hey, these metrics went up, and and we think we can make them even better perhaps next time. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
That's a great point, and we did, as part of our existing conditions, we do have a lot of baseline data, but as soon as we get to the project, we will definitely build in some performance metrics.
Committee Member Olson.
Yes, thank you. Since we're calling this a complete streets project, certainly the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee should come down strongly on wanting the street to be complete. That is a sidewalk in each direction, a traffic lane in each direction, and a bicycle lane in each direction. We cannot call it a complete street if we don't get that. The remainder of the right-of-way, we can divide up however we want. Parking, bus rapid transit, dedicated right and left turn lanes, whatever we want to put there. But for the street to be complete, I cannot say this strongly enough, it's got to have those 3 items in each direction: sidewalk, bike lane, at least 1 traffic lane. So to deal with the cut-through traffic from Interstate 80, make it a toll road. Make the toll serious enough so that the motorist figures it's better to wait in traffic than it is to pay $25 to save 5 minutes, or whatever it turns out to be. But come down strongly on get rid of the cut-through traffic to begin with. Those people don't have any business on our street. And we have the computer technology to make it the toll road, and, you know, piece of cake, no problem. That'll get rid of 1/3 of the traffic right there. Okay, I'll shut up. Thank you very much.
The toll thing is something we hadn't talked about, but something, and I'm looking at Leah because Leah, led this project for the first 2 phases. I just will say, we aren't calling this a complete streets project. We're calling it a multimodal corridor plan. And we did go through the complete streets checklist, but for the last 5 years, we've been discussing kind of what we can fit in the corridor, and it really has been a difficult discussion with all the trade-offs and discussing a parallel bikeway. When, we have the Ohlone Trail, sometimes a block or 2 away. And, we did, he's no longer here to represent himself, but Dave Campbell did go on record saying he thought transit should have the highest priority in this corridor, and he was willing to concede space from bikes as long as it went to transit. So that is something we heard from the Bike Coalition, that when it comes to trade-offs, transit is the highest priority on San Pablo Avenue. But maybe Leah wants to weigh in there.
I do remember that quote because that was notable. But what I was going to also say is, as part of the phase 1 analysis, they looked at the stress levels, of putting in different bike facilities. And even if, because of, as you know, San Pablo Avenue is totally built out, right? There's no acquiring extra right-of-way. And, it has an existing roadway network that's quite complicated because you have offset intersections and that kind of thing. So in phase 1, when they did an analysis of level of stress, comparing it to the type of facility that could be put in, even when you put all your, money, whatever, all your efforts into making like your finest bicycle facility, they couldn't get it to a level of stress that is, for all riders. Just because there's things that, even if you got rid of the 1/3 of cut-through drivers, there's still heavy traffic volumes. You still have you know, there's a lot of driveways there. There's a lot of legacy businesses there, so there's a lot of driveway cuts and the offset intersections, and there's a whole list of things. But even under the best conditions, we don't think it's going to be we can design it to a situation where everybody's going to feel comfortable. That's obviously not a popular thing to announce, but it's kind of the realistic outcome that, you know, so it comes down to, well, how much money do you want to put towards trying to lower that level, that stress level, knowing that you're not going to get it. So, you know, a 5-year-old is going to ride there. You know, it's never, unless we have, you know, some humongous change, which I can't foresee without a huge earthquake. You know, it's just, it's not going to be that a 5-year-old facility, or a facility for a 5-year-old.
And something I didn't mention was also the coordination with Alameda County and what they're doing, you know, because we meet, you know, you don't even know where the county line is, where Albany and El Cerrito meet. They are doing a parallel bikeway through Berkeley and Albany. So we want to have something that will get people wherever they're going. They don't care where the county line is. So having something that lines up with what they're doing is you know, is something that we'll want to be, you know, at least be coordinating on. And I do ride my bike on San Pablo Avenue today, so I'm one of those people that is probably, what is it, reckless and brave or crazy. But yeah, it's a tough trade-off. I get it, but it's something, you know, we'll keep on working on.
And with what I said, I'm not saying that we're ignoring bicyclists in no way. I mean, we're looking to see what types of improvements that we can do to make this a multimodal corridor. But, you know, when part of the analysis we did in phase 1 is if everybody got their slot, there's not enough room from curb to curb there. So how do we balance that? And maybe we look beyond just the immediate corridor.
Yeah, Commissioner Olson.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and we do have to be real here. I'm speaking on a policy-making level, not on a what we're going to do on the street level, and I appreciate all the work you've put into it. My only real request would be when we jump from San Pablo Avenue to the parallel bike facility, make that as low stress as possible, including a traffic signal at every crossing, please.
Okay, Committee Member Foster.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I have some comments here. With your phase 2 recommendations on improved pedestrian crossings, I wonder, would that mean trying to find or evaluate the crosswalk time, like how many seconds people have to cross the street, you know, because depending how many lanes there are. So that means 4 lanes is 30 seconds fair to cross the street or more?
So as part of phase 1, they did look at the traffic signal timing, and it's been a while since phase 1, so I can't say I remember all the details, but, you know, there are, when you do go in and look at traffic signals, Caltrans has policies about like the distance that you cover and how quickly like the pedestrian can walk. And then those have been adjusted over time to give more time for pedestrians because of, you know, people who are slower crossing. Like sometimes you'll see the senior crossing signs. That often means that the signal timing has been extended. So
Yes, in some corridors, there are, let's say, people with disabilities, and then you have corridors by the BART where there's high school. I'm sure that's very saturated with pedestrians, so you're gonna need more time when kids are trying to walk from school to the other side of San Pablo where they live.
Right.
So it's kind of fair to increase the crosswalk time just because of that one, especially when school's out, you know, and the kids just try to leave like bats out of hell. You know, my next bullet item here is, since San Pablo is like 40% Latino, Spanish-speaking, bilingual signs, highly recommended. And since it's an equity priority community, so that means there should be other sources of funding from the block grants, from the community block grants, because they're the ones that pay for the ADA curb ramps.
I'm not sure I
Yeah,
followed
we prepare a community-based transportation plan for these areas, and then they qualify for, various lifeline funds, REAP funds, so forth. Yeah, so we would probably try and,
Yeah, check with the city because they do have that in their CIP.
Okay.
And to kind of improve kind of quality of life around San Pablo, we could just use some more canopy trees because it does make a difference. I mean, if it's in the summer, it's hot, I'll just park under a tree and walk everywhere because I don't want my tree to be, my car to be like an oven. So it really incentivizes me not to have to drive from lot to lot to lot. I'll just stay put.
Okay, next, Vice Chair Weeks.
Hi, thank you for this presentation. I'm also dangerous and intrepid in that area, but I echo the comments we've heard today, but I do wanted to mention that I didn't hear anything about kind of exploring the bikes on board capacity of this corridor. And something that I've seen some resistance from some of the bus providers is increasing the number of bikes allowed in the front bike loading rack. The old way was 2, and we were told that CHP would give tickets if you had more, and then AC Transit went out on a limb and put 4 on the fronts of a lot of their buses, and that's super exciting, and they didn't get tickets, and it went fine. And we haven't had much expansion since then, or much exploration about how to innovate on the bikes on board concept, especially if you have these kind of long distance runs that are express bus service or BRT. So it'd be interesting to have something acknowledging that, looking at that, the capacity on board the vehicles. I just want to add that to your comments for the day. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, we're coordinating with AC and looking at what they've done on their tempo line and other BRT systems, see what we can glean from them.
Okay, next committee member Byrne.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. For this extensive outreach, that's really the only word that can go for it. It's going to be a lot. And with that, I would say, because this is a transit project, really target those transit users. The business members, the people losing parking are often outweighed as the loudest voices. So really try to do pedestrians, transit riders, really try to get that balanced input.
Okay, next, committee member Byron.
Hi, so I'm Janet Byron. I'm with El Cerrito Richmond Annex Walk and Roll, which is a multimodal advocacy group. I also live on San Pablo Avenue in a new construction condo at the corner of San Pablo and Eureka. So I have a few thoughts on the project. Just one, I don't know if this is just something that I think about as I'm walking around. The sidewalks on San Pablo are really wide. They're 15 feet in some places on long stretches of El Cerrito and into Richmond. So I'm just wondering if that's taken into consideration when you're doing your planning for bike facilities. Is that just something that you would think about? Can the sidewalks be part of a bike facility? So that's one thing. I don't know if you want to respond. The second one is pedestrian scrambles. Is that under consideration? So that's when pedestrians can walk in different directions at major intersections like Carlson, Fairmont, Stockton, Potrero, where there's a lot of traffic going crossways, because there's businesses on both sides there. And let's see, El Cerrito Plaza, there's no consideration of bikes in that. I know it's private property, but getting people into and out of the plaza safely on bike, by bike, is just something I think needs to be on your plate. When you're doing your economic analysis, bike parking, I think getting people, when people get to the businesses safely by bike, or is there a place for them to put their, their expensive e-bike, their cargo bike, where they're going to purchase things, spend money, and then take them home. And then I have so many comments about this. I'm sorry. So I live at the corner of Eureka and San Pablo Avenue, and for me to use the Ohlone Greenway to go to the El Cerrito Natural Grocery, which is 1 block away, I need to bike 5 blocks. So the Ohlone Greenway is 2 blocks away for a lot of that space going north. So I'd have to go up to the Greenway 2 blocks, ride 1 block over to Stockton, and then ride 2 blocks back to get to the grocery store. I mean, I would walk mostly, but with a cart. But just for argument's sake, it's the Ohlone Greenway as an alternative isn't always the best option when you're by bike. It's just not as convenient. And so there's Kearney Street is currently 1 way, and I'm sure I think this is in the plan, but it would be really important to consider making that a 2-way bikeway like they've done in Albany on Adams and Keynes, so that bikes could move in both directions. I mean, it would mean putting in sharrows, which we hate, but bikes, it would just make that. I see a lot of people riding the wrong way, biking the wrong way on Kearney between Fairmont and Mosier. And I do that a lot myself. So, so that's something also to keep in mind. And then finally, there's a lot of kids that cross San Pablo Avenue on bike and foot to get to school from the Richmond Annex and from El Cerrito. And they're taking, I think maybe Gaio, you're going to talk about this, but they're on bike, they're on foot, they're going to Harding, they're going to Fairmont, they're going to Korematsu and El Cerrito High. And so keeping in mind that there's a lot of young people, kids that are on that route trying to get across. So like a pedestrian activated beacon at Eureka is really, really helpful. And so I'm sure you've got that on your mind, but I just want to make sure it's front and center.
Yeah, thanks. And I think those are great comments. I think a lot of those we'll get to when we get to the design portion. So yeah, I think we can focus in on some of those ideas more then.
All right. Community Member Foster.
Yes, I forgot one more item in my bullet list here is reducing speed limit. Let's consider AB 43, which requires cities to round down to nearest 5 miles per hour from the measured 85th percentile vehicle speed rather than rounding up. Consider reducing the speed limit by another 5 miles an hour miles per hour based on a road's proximity to vulnerable populations such as schools or elder care facilities or bike ped infrastructure such as trails or protected bike lanes.
Yeah, Colin's been tracking that bill. I'm sure it's something the authority will approach. However, it does have to be done, I think, by the jurisdiction. So I would definitely encourage you to start talking to your local council to get them thinking about the idea. But CCTA will be approaching it from a countywide perspective.
Okay, if we have no other committee member comments,
One more?
okay,
Please, thank you.
Member Olson.
Yeah, I don't consider myself among the top 5% of brave cyclists. But I did ride a portion of the freeway to get to this meeting this morning. Thank you. Okay, so we have video detection in some cases for intersections. Not being a top 5% brave cyclist, if there's a dedicated right turn lane for the motorist and there's not a dedicated bike lane between the dedicated through lane and the dedicated right turn lane, I'm on the sidewalk and I push the pedestrian button. And if it's a big intersection, we can have up to 40 seconds to allow a slow pedestrian to get across that intersection. However, on my bicycle, if I can bluff the right turning car and go first, I'm across that intersection in 5, 4, 6 seconds, something like that. So put a video detection in to see if the crosswalk is occupied, because then you don't have to have those 40 seconds and you can spend that time making it more efficient for motorists. Thank you.
Okay, if we have no other community member comments, I do want to turn it over to public comment. First, Jackie, have we received any online or written comment, public comment?
No written comment or online comment. However, we did have one comment in person.
Okay, and we do have, I did receive one speaker card, so I'd like to invite Gaia Sanatina to speak.
Hello, is this on? Do I tap it? Oh, okay, hello. I'm Gaia. I live in El Cerrito. I have 2 small children who I like to bike with, but it's really, really, really scary. And we cross San Pablo at least twice a day, if not more, to get to and from school. I know Janet mentioned there's 4 schools in really close proximity to the area, and having a way for parents to feel safe about their children crossing in those areas would, I imagine, free up a lot of traffic of people who are too scared to let their kids do things on their own, and maybe that would take down some of the cars that are in that area. It's also like there's so many businesses along most of San Pablo, and there aren't really that many nice areas to be. There's a small section between the plaza and Central where they do the cute Christmas lights and stuff, and that's really the only nice area I feel like doing. I know this, I've looked at this plan a lot. I'm going to collect my thoughts here. I think it would be really important to slow down traffic on San Pablo. There's a lot of parking along it, so it's basically like a 6-lane road if you count those parking spaces as area to cross. A lot of the medians have big plants in them, which is really nice, but as someone who's crossing or trying to turn onto the street, it's really hard to see around those sometimes, the oncoming traffic in the whichever direction. I don't know if there's like a way to keep those lower, and it part of the daylighting thing maybe. There were so many things. But, I was driving on it, which is unusual for me. I also like to ride my bike everywhere. And I was feeling, everyone goes so fast on San Pablo, and I was looking and looking and looking for a speed limit sign, and they are like nowhere to be found. So I don't know if that's something you can just like throw a few more speed limit signs in there, because people definitely mostly go 45. And as someone who lives in the area, I would love slower speeds and better safety for children and other mobility users. That's all for now.
Okay, thank you for that comment. All right, we could move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a second checklist. This is our first. Thank you, Matt, for that presentation. We'll now move to the second item on the agenda here. There's another checklist. It's for the multi-jurisdictional West and Central Contra Costa County All Ages and Abilities Trails to Transit and Bay Trail Gap Closure Project. This item will be presented by Colin Clark, CCTA, and I think you also have a consultant here.
Thank you, Chair. So, this project was a multi-jurisdiction project put together for competing for grant application funds from MTC, and we have our consulting partner, Matt Broughton from Kittleson, to present today on the project and the Complete Streets checklist. Looking forward to input.
All right, thank you. And yes, here to present the checklist for the multi-jurisdictional West and Central Contra Costa County Trails to Transit and Bay Trail Gap Closure Project. This project is a result of the Contra Costa Countywide Transportation Safety Action Plan and an attempt to accelerate to implementation projects that are helping address the high injury networks for the local jurisdictions, countywide, and the region. As part of this project, it's composed of 3 different elements. Core piece of this project is really looking at implementing Class 1 shared use paths or Class 4 barrier separated bikeway gap closure projects, and that's taking place in El Cerrito, Hercules, and then a portion of the East Bay Regional Park District near Martinez. So a lot of overlap with our last couple of projects that we heard presentations on here. Overall, looking to help eliminate fatal and serious injury crash risk within the county, enhance safety overall for people walking, biking, or rolling within the community, and then promote active transportation access to and from transit stations, including the El Cerrito del Norte, BART station, the Hercules Transit Center, and the Martinez Intermodal Station. The portion for the East Bay Regional Park District closes a gap on the San Francisco Bay Trail near Martinez and connects to the Intermodal Center. And then for the City of Hercules project, it's really closing a gap in the network that effectively bisects the city on the east and west side by the Burlington Northern Santa Fe rail line and Interstate 80 to close a gap there for all ages and ability appropriate walking and biking. Just a project map here. We do have 3 different components across the west and central region of the county, just to give a little bit of context. So the project in El Cerrito, near the El Cerrito del Norte BART station, the Ohlone Greenway, and then Cutting Boulevard being the key components of that project, that element of the project. In Hercules, the project is implementing a shared use path and buffered bike lanes along Sycamore Avenue to connect between the Civic Center to San Pablo Avenue, where it connects to other shared use paths. And then in Martinez, the gap that was mentioned in the earlier presentation from the Nijidli staging area to connect over to the intermodal station in Martinez. So for El Cerrito, the project will widen the Ohlone Greenway by up to 40%, so seeking to get it from the current existing conditions of 8 to 10 feet wide up to as much as 14 feet wide. Key part of that is to provide that all ages and abilities appropriate, and recognizing that as we have e-bikes and other faster moving bicyclists, we want to make sure that we're providing a sufficiently wide facility to accommodate increased active transportation use that's appropriate for anyone from that 5-year-old up to an 80-year-old walking or rolling along that corridor. There'll also be new crossing enhancements at Knott Avenue as well as part of this, so during curb extensions to help slow traffic in the vicinity of the crossing, as well as an RFB. And then on Cutting Boulevard, there'll be a Class 4 barrier-separated bikeway, as well as a bus-only lane, replacing what is currently the shared bus-bike lane along the corridor there to help eliminate those bus-bike conflicts and connect along the east-west improvements that are planned along Cutting Avenue, connecting over Interstate 80. And again, just emphasizing these projects are all seeking to address, and in this case, we just talked extensively about the parallel route of the high entry network, of looking for that opportunity to improve that all ages and ability and comfortable facility. For the East Bay Regional Park District component of the project, as I mentioned, it's a half-mile shared use path gap closure to connect the Bay Trail to the Martinez Intermodal Station. It will run along the Union Pacific rail line up to or west to the Najidli staging area that replaces the out-of-direction on-street facility without a bikeway that you would have to otherwise access that station if you were walking, or access that staging area if you were walking, biking, or rolling. And as part of this, it really connects over 100 miles of shared use path networks in the Carquinez Strait National Shoreline, Radke Martinez Regional Shoreline, and the Martinez Waterfront Park. And so really trying to unlock that low-stress, active transportation connections across the community, both for those essential trips that you might need to take as well as recreationally in this case. At the rail crossing itself, so I think that was mentioned earlier that there is the rail crossing that will be enhanced with new gates serving both the walking and biking path that will be on the east side of the roadway there, as well as the motor vehicle and bikeway, Class 3 bikeway that exists along that corridor. For the Hercules component, currently there's no bikeway on Sycamore Avenue, and there are incomplete or very narrow sidewalks. What this would do is on the northern side of Sycamore Avenue, install an 8 to 10 foot shared use path, given the limited right-of-way in the area of the Burlington Northern Santa Fe rail line and Interstate 80 that it goes under, and provide that Class 1 connection from the east side of the city to the west side of the city. It'll connect on either side on San Pablo Avenue, the Safeway that runs from Sycamore north. There's a new Class 1 path that was just installed as part of a project there, and ultimately will connect to improvements along the John Muir Parkway to connect all the way to the west, where the future Hercules hub is planned at the connection to the San Francisco Bay Trail. On the east side, the path would run all the way to the Civic Center and also connect to the Refugio Valley Class 1 path to help serve connections to the community there. There'll also be Class 2 buffered bike lanes with additional green conflict markings painted on street. That's for those more strong and fearless riders that we were talking about that might want to use that, but also, again, providing that Class 1 facility for those that don't want to share the roadway environment. And again, this was in the city's local road safety plan, 2 of the 3 highest intersections in terms of fatal and serious injuries for bicycles and pedestrians, and is also on the countywide and regional high injury networks as well. So just in terms of where the project is, this project is seeking funding for implementation. The Ohlone Greenway portion of the project has gone through environmental review and completed 35% design plans. The portion along Cutting Boulevard in El Cerrito has gone through initial planning and 15% design. Along Sycamore Avenue and Hercules, that's gone through planning and initial design of that 15% again. And then the East Bay Regional Park District segment, the shared use path segment has gone through 95% design plan, so it's very close to being construction ready, and just completed a CEQA addendum to maintain that CEQA clearance. And the portion for the railroad, there is a agreement in place with the Union Pacific Railroad already for the use of the right-of-way along the rail line, and that rail crossing improvements are at 50% design. The anticipated start date for this project, if awarded funding, which I'll talk about in just a moment, is July of next year, and it'll run through into 2029 for construction. In terms of what this project is trying to achieve, I hope it's clear. We're trying to eliminate fatal and serious injuries by addressing key connections and opportunities that we see and accelerate local projects for the high injury network, while also trying to increase access and use of active transportation, whether that's walking, biking, or rolling, and helping to serve some of those connections to the transit centers in West and Central region. So again, trying to address from a number of different angles that connectivity for walking, biking, and rolling, and safety, but also helping to achieve those sustainability goals of reducing miles traveled and serving to shift modes to more sustainable opportunities. And then finally, in terms of the project cost, it's about $5.2 million. We've requested, as Colin mentioned earlier, about $3.9 million in Safe Routes to Transit and Bay Trail funding from MTC under the RM3 program. 67% of that funding request would go to equity priority communities in El Cerrito and Martinez area, with the remainder of that funding going into Hercules. And this is also hoping to leverage TDA3 funding that the City of Hercules has already secured partially, a Community of Natural Resources Agency, California Natural Resources Agency grant that the East Bay Regional Park District has secured, as well as funding that El Cerrito secured from a development related to the Safeway to the south of the station. So I think with that, we'll happily take any questions.
All right, thank you for that presentation. First, turn it over to committee members if they have any questions or comments. I'll start on my right here.
Just a quick question. What's the project area for the Ohlone Greenway in El Cerrito?
So it's from just north of Blake Street and then connecting all the way up to Conlin, where it connects to the Richmond Greenway. And so I'd be doing intersection improvements and then widening of the path. So 14 feet is the ideal width that they're looking for. There are certain pinch points along the corridor where it does need to be a little bit narrower.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Weeks.
Just a quick question about the East Bay Regional Parks project. That's great to see that. Thank you for working on that project. Got to see in Oregon where they put these kind of trails next to train tracks all the time. And it just seems like we've waited a long, long time before we've done this in California. It's great to see us trying it. As far as the crossing goes, I'm sure that's the most complicated piece and the most challenging piece. Can you just talk a little bit about that and just, maybe just use it as therapy or something? Just tell it to, I'd be interested in seeing what some of the challenges were and kind of what you landed on. I mean, not tell a giant story, but, I'm just curious because I think that's really going to be the main issue there. Thanks.
Yeah, so I will highlight that we were not involved in the initial planning and design of this, so this is CCTA's effort to accelerate that project into implementation. I can speak a little bit to what's happening at the crossing. I am sure that whoever led the design of that would have some stories to tell, but they did secure, like I mentioned, it is already a partnership that has been agreed to with the Union Pacific Railroad for along the right-of-way. At the crossing itself, there will be improvements on either side of the roadway. So it is currently an existing 2-lane roadway plus an 11-foot shoulder on the east side. That 11-foot shoulder will remain for the actual crossing portion itself, and then on either side, essentially nice curb extension and landing area on either side to create a path that would connect over to the intermodal station. But for the crossing portion itself, it will remain a asphalt paved shoulder in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Community Member Foster.
I thank you for the presentation. So this is just the trail, right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
And this is just the trail
For the, which
for the
portion?
different jurisdictions, right? So anyways, because of the prevalence of e-bikes, I wonder if there's a possibility of putting a speed limit. I think typical is it 15 miles an hour?
You're asking along the Park District? Yeah.
For the project in Martinez specifically?
Yes.
Yes, it's
Or
15 miles per
even
hour.
really throughout? Just
All throughout the Park District's trails, it's 15 miles per hour.
Is that posted?
Yes, it's posted on our regional trail rules.
Oh,
And
but
then there
not-
are
but-
occasional speed limit signs in certain areas, but not posted throughout our entire trail network as its individual sign.
Got it. And how wide is the trail?
This particular Bay Trail project is 10 feet of pavement with 4-foot soft shoulder.
Is there like some sort of a separation where pedestrians from cyclists in some places?
Not on this particular project. Everybody shares the 10 feet of pavement or the shoulder if they don't want to use the pavement.
Got it. Because we've seen it, and Colin can speak to this in some places in the George Washington Trail where there's a lot of pedestrians or if there's like picnic areas, they will put that separation. Just because sometimes there's toddlers just crawling over, the trail when it gets busy. So it's just really something to think about. They'll just paint yellow and they'll put footsteps for pedestrians and then the cyclists.
Yeah, we are considering doing things like that in other projects where we have a little more right-of-way. One of the challenges with this project is that where it parallels the railroad tracks, we are limited to 15 feet and of the outermost area of the railroad track. So we only have 15 feet to work with. And then with regards to the crossing, I know, Chris, you had asked about this. He mentioned we've had an MOU with the railroad to be able to build, certain stretches of trail like this one that have been very challenging to get. And the railroad has a way of, if you're coming in to make any improvement at all, you've got to make every improvement. So we're ending up, having to make improvements to parts of the crossing infrastructure that the trail doesn't really actually touch. But a part of that agreement is also with regards to fencing and that width of being 15 feet, we've got to have 8-foot fencing. So we usually have to save that 1 foot for fencing. But we could possibly, consider doing something like striping if we see a lot of use where we don't necessarily have to increase the width of the surface itself, but perhaps, direct where people are using. It's something the Park District hasn't done in the past, but something we're considering more and more. So I'll note that comment and pass that on to the project managers.
Yeah, especially more like in the picnic areas where there's a lot of children that are wandering if they're unsupervised and that does happen.
All right, any other comments on this item? Okay, hearing none. Jackie, any public comments received for this item?
No public comments received and no hands raised.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that presentation. Okay, we'll move on to sorry, I'm losing track here. The third checklist to review, which is the San Pablo Dam Road Complete Streets Project. This item will be presented by Contra Costa County's Public Works Department staff.
Hello. Thank you for having us. This is the San Pablo Dam Road Complete Streets Project. We applied for grant funding on June 17th of this year. And as a requirement for the grant program, we're required to share and present our project concepts to this committee to make sure that it complies with the policy. I am Brian Lewis with Contra Costa County Public Works, and this is my colleague Joe Smithonic. There, I got it. Yeah, that was it. We're good. Here's the agenda. Gonna talk about the project location, the need for the project, proposed improvements, and finally the cost and schedule. So the project is located in the west side of Contra Costa County in El Sobrante area. I'm sure everyone is familiar with it. It's San Pablo Dam Road between Appian Way and Tri-Lane. In addition to all these local destinations, such as the elementary school, community, and the downtown, San Pablo Dam Road is used to access a lot of recreational areas along San Pablo Dam Road, and a way to access Highway 24 in Orinda. This area is served by AC Transit. Line 74 and 669 run through this area. These maps show the San Pablo Dam Road project limits in dashed red. Okay, the need for the project. This photo is somewhere between Clark Street and May Road. As you can see, it is four lanes, 2 lanes in each direction. It's very good for cars, but it's not very good for pedestrians and bicyclists. As you can see, there's a lack of bikeways, and along the corridor, there's minimal pedestrian crossings. The road is signed for 40 miles per hour, and our speed surveys have shown that about 85% are going over 50 miles per hour. So this is our proposed improvements, a cross-section. So the top is showing what is existing. We have 2 11-foot lanes in both directions with parking on both sides. Our proposed cross-section is on the bottom. It shows a single lane in each direction, a center double left turn lane, and then by reconfiguring the space, it allows us to include bicycle lanes in both directions, not only bicycle lanes, buffered bicycle lanes, and we can keep most of the parking along the corridor as well. Between Castro Ranch Road and Tri-Lane, it's a little bit different in that there's a lot of residential areas nearby, and we see an opportunity here to put a Class 4 bikeway, which is a separated bikeway. And again, some of the proposed improvements are to reduce the 4-lane road to 3 lanes, 1 in each direction, and a center left turn lane. We're constructing bike lanes on both sides of the roads that include green conflict striping, as you can see, and bike boxes. So the bike boxes would allow bicyclists to kind of take the lead and get in front of those cars that are waiting at the light as well, but then that it would allow them to be more visible and for them to take the lead and get through the intersection before the cars. And another thing I mentioned before was the lack of pedestrian crossings, and with I counted 21 bus stops along the corridor within our project limits, and there's no crossings to help facilitate pedestrians to cross at those locations. So they're there either to walk very far, which most people won't, and they'll just kind of leapfrog across and get over to the way they need to. So we are proposing to construct pedestrian hybrid beacons near these bus stops, and we are proposing 6 of them since there's a great need for these. And these are those robust, they're like pretty much like traffic signals. They have mast arms with lights and a pedestrian button that they press that will actually actuate the lights. I have another slide a little later to show this, and this will activate the lights to flash red, and the cars, signaling the cars to actually stop so that the pedestrians could cross safely. So here's another example of part of our proposed improvements showing the pedestrian hybrid beacon. There's some challenging areas where we don't have sidewalk, and although we are not proposing sidewalk all the way through the corridor as much as a complete street would like that just gets a little bit too expensive. So we've proposed some sidewalks in some areas that are right near the crossings where the bus stops are. In the case that we do get when we do get grant funding for this, we can look at adding to looking at areas where we can add more sidewalk. But this example shows the bike lanes, the conflict stripings, and the bike box. And this is at Castor Ranch Road, between Castor Ranch Road and Oak Creek Road. This is the intersection of San Pablo Dam Road and Valley View Road. And this project gives us an opportunity to look at the existing configuration of the road and see, are there any opportunities to make it better? And this one, we noticed that there's like 2 pork chops there where the cars kind of go around. There's the right turn from San Pablo Dam Road on to Valley View Road is a sweeping right turn, which is very unfriendly to pedestrians and bicyclists. So in this plan, this proposed plan, it's showing how we would eliminate that sweeping right turn lane, force the cars to stop at the signal, and then take their right after they stop. This reduces the number of pedestrian conflict points with bicyclists, reduces the length that you have to cross, the pedestrian would have to cross to get from one side to the other. And we did include there's a one median that you could stop at as opposed to the 2 pork chops. And also at Olinda Road right now there's currently a crosswalk, but it's unprotected. So we are proposing to add a rectangular flashing beacon at this location, and we can get away with a rectangular flashing beacon here rather than a hybrid beacon, since there's slightly less volume on this road. So this is an example of a pedestrian hybrid beacon where It's pretty much like a traffic signal, but for pedestrians. So we estimated the project cost to be just under $10 million, and we requested from the grant funds just under $8 million, and we provide a local match when we do get this grant. And assuming we get this grant, these would be our proposed schedule. We could begin as early as next year. These are the agencies that have provided their support to us, and after today, we're hoping that we can add you guys to this list too. And it would help us in our future applications for grant funding in the case that we don't receive this year's grant funding. So next steps is to receive feedback from the committee here, and then submit the required checklist for the grant application, and we are waiting for the announcement for the granting awards. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions or feedback.
All right, thank you for that presentation. And just want to remind committee members, we are running a little short on time, so if you could limit your comments a bit, that'd be appreciated. I'll start on the left here with committee member Greenblatt.
Hi. Thank you for the presentations. It's exciting to see all the improvements, pedestrian and bicycle-friendly improvements that this project has. You mentioned that the speed study showed that the 85th percentile speed was greater than 50 miles per hour. And I'm wondering if there's been any analysis, like it feels like it's going to reduce the speeds, all the improvements, but I'm wondering if there was a technical analysis that showed what type of, how much of a reduction we might see from the improvements.
So we did, in 2022, we did a traffic study, and they looked at the delay time, or how much they would slow the traffic, and the queuing at the lights. And it was noted that queuing would definitely increase, and the speeds would definitely decrease. And they actually looked at two different sections. One was from Appian Way to Castor Ranch, and one was from May Road to Castor Ranch. And they although they recognized that there was going to be some substantial increase in queuing on the west side of the corridor, that we're willing to accept that in exchange for safer streets. So yes, it will. The exact numbers I would have to dive in, which I do have here, and but in concept, yes, that is what is going on here, and the people in their cars who speed through there because they want to get there as fast as they can, yeah, they're just going to have to kind of wait, because it is it's a residential road, and there's people who live along it, and I use that road. Everyone probably uses that road, and it's hard when you're driving with two lanes. You hardly even know there's roads because you're racing. You're trying to get through this corridor that allows this to happen. So yes, I do have the exact numbers here, but I don't know them offhand. But yes, in concept, yes, that is what is going on here, and it's greatly going to reduce traffic and the volume going through there, make things safer.
Committee member Olson.
Yes, thank you. The segment of Class 4 facility, is there one on each side of the street, or is there only one?
One on each side of the street.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, committee member Foster.
Right, thank you for the presentation. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking at the map here too, that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 schools. So based on that, lots of kids, and then make this project very ADA friendly, where you can use the AB 43 hammer.
Okay, Vice Chair Weeks.
2 questions. First one is at Valley View and San Pablo Dam Road. There's a bike box that you have on the right-hand turn lane there. I'm looking at page 10, that version of it. If you could navigate over to that real quick. That one works. So in the upper, I guess it's the left, it's the right-hand turn pocket off of Valley View onto San Pablo Dam. I don't understand how someone would use that bike box, since there's probably going to be cars coming to make that right-hand turn, and they can make turns on red. So I don't know who would be using that particular box. I like the bike box in the straight and left. I think that is great, and especially paralleled with the bike lane coming up to it. That definitely needs to be there. But to the right, in the right-hand turn lane, who would be in that box? And I almost would wonder if we could remove that.
And that very well, if it's not needed, we could remove it. This is very beginning of the conceptual design, and when we do get the funding, we will go back through this, and there'll be lots of time to evaluate.
Okay,
all the little design.
I just don't want a cyclist standing there and someone behind him honking, go, get
right,
out
and we will definitely, yes, we will definitely go back.
Take a look at that.
And yes,
and
get your input before.
And then on your page that shows the alignment that you're going to be, the proposed improvements in the typical cross-section between west of Castro Ranch, you have the existing and the proposed. And I was just curious, how did you decide to put the bike lane on the moving motorist side there rather than along the curb? I've seen people experiment with putting them on the sidewalk side, and then you have a barrier of parked cars between bikes and the speeding cars. That might be something you might want to explore. It's almost better than a buffer bike lane in some ways as far as providing that barrier, but then you got to keep the bike lane clean. So there's pluses and minuses there, but just want to see if you explored that idea.
Right, we can certainly explore that idea for this grant project. Yeah, or we propose this just for this grant program. But yes, I have seen that, and I'm like, it does work in certain situations. So yeah, we can definitely see if we can utilize that concept here in some of the areas.
Yeah, see if we do have a speeding problem, maybe it would even slow down cars even more to have a lane of parked cars right next to them, rather than a bike lane with just some paint. So I don't know, but if you could explore that, that'd be great. That's my last question. So thank you very much.
Community Member Byrne.
Thank you. So I'll keep it brief. Yeah, so speeding, the speeds are definitely high here. So as you do get more into the design, implement a lower design speed and kind of really force the driver behavior that you want to see. And along that line, two-way left turn lanes are great. And this corridor has a bunch of driveways, but not everywhere. So where you don't need it, you can do possibly a median, else it's going to be just an auxiliary lane and kind of that additional roadway space for vehicles to go quicker. And then I'd say for the intersection Valley View and San Pablo, where you do have opportunities to potentially make signal timing improvements, this intersection here has the permissive left, so you have that vehicle-ped conflict. Look for possible opportunities to separate the vehicles and the peds in time. And then last comment on Valley View, north of San Pablo, that approach is downhill, and curved. So I would just be careful with the sight lines coming down that hill towards the intersection and where you have the bike lanes. You might want to extend traffic calming further up that hill just to get people slower before they hit that area.
Thank you.
Committee Member Byron.
This is so super exciting. I'm just really happy to see this. I'm a recreational user of that stretch. It's really scary for cyclists and dangerous. And when I've been there, I've noticed a lot of local use on the sidewalk, just people riding their bikes to get from A to B. So this is going to be really great for great. So one question I had was, on the west side, there's this odd thing that I don't really understand, which is the I-80 bikeway, which was sort of, there's signage that says that it's an I-80 bikeway. Does anybody know about this? When you're riding along, like there's a stretch in El Cerrito in Richmond, and I think it was at some point supposed to help people get around I-80. So I just wondered, does this connect with the I-80 bikeway, and how does that fit in?
I didn't go that west.
It's not that far west. It's not that far west. Okay.
Right.
But just keep an eye out for there's signage.
I-80, okay.
Yeah, like there's signage for I-80 bikeway, but it doesn't really do anything for you. Like it doesn't, as a cyclist. And then the second thing is that I know this is the project areas from Appian Way to Kennedy Grove, but there's that whole other section that goes to Orinda, where there's a wide shoulder. There's a lot of cycling on that section. Speeds are very high, and I just wonder, is that like phased? Is there any consideration of?
You're talking on the Orinda side?
Yeah.
No, this doesn't look at that at all.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then the third thing is when you're putting in pedestrian activated beacons, if you could consider putting in buttons for cyclists as well at the places where they cross, where they're at streets. Because cyclists, when you get to the beacon, you have to like ride onto the sidewalk, often a pretty good distance to get to the button.
Okay, so for the bikers who want to use the pedestrian hybrid beacon
to cross. Yeah, okay. So like when you're coming up to the pedestrian activated beacon as a cyclist.
I see. To make it easier. Make it easy for them to push the button.
Right. The button is usually, it's good for pedestrians. It's where the crosswalk is on the right-hand side. But the cyclist has to ride up onto the sidewalk and into the crosswalk area to get to the button. So a button for cyclists is extremely helpful.
Okay. Noted. Robert?
Actually, one thing, Member Olson, sorry to interrupt, just I think we're running short on time, so if you could make the comment quick so we could keep moving forward. So my apologies, but yeah.
Yeah, okay.
If you have a quick comment.
Well, yes, I do have a quick comment. That is on the bike box on the dedicated right turn lane. If there's not, I'm a transportation cyclist. If there's not a dedicated bike lane between the dedicated through lane and the dedicated right turn lane, I'm either on the sidewalk, or if there's a green bike box in the right turn lane, I stop in that bike box and I let the motorists behind me wait for their right turn. So if you've got bike lanes coming up to this intersection, you got bike lanes going away from them, but in the intersection, given the dedicated left turn lane, you don't have enough room to fit in a dedicated bike lane to the limit line. I would love to see a green bike box in the right turn lane. The bike box gives permission to the bicyclist to be there. I'm not a big fan of being out in the through traffic lane if there's not a dedicated bike lane between those two lanes. I'm just saying that as a transportation cyclist.
Okay.
And thank you.
Okay. If no other community member comments, checking, Jack, if you received any public comment for this item.
We do have one hand raised. That's Corey Riley. I'm going to promote him real quick.
Okay.
Corey, are you there?
Can you hear me? Yeah, sorry. Took a minute. I had to, I guess, restart Zoom there for you all to hear me. Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm not there today. I have a head cold, so thank you, Leah, for filling in for me. I just want to say I live here in this project area, so I'm excited to see this happening. I live kind of on the west side by the library, and I regularly go to the Lakeview Athletic Club over at the end of this project area by Tri Lane. And when I first moved to this neighborhood, I said, oh, hey, I could, jog to the gym or ride my bike to the gym. But then once we actually looked at it, there's no way. This is an extremely dangerous road. So I'm glad to see that this project coming through. I want to say I commend the class 4 bike lanes. I don't think class 2 bike lanes would work here. I mean, there needs to be some physical separation because of how, high the traffic is and all that. So I would say I would also echo the concerns about what happens on the road as you go into Orinda, as you go towards, Kennedy Grove and further along towards San Pablo Dam. Turning out of the athletic club, turning left to go west on San Pablo Dam Road at Tri Lane is often like taking your life in your own hands. You just have to wait for a break and just, hit the gas and hope you can make it. So that intersection there, if that traffic coming down the hill isn't also calmed in some way, I could still see, potential issues there. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for putting some attention on this area. I think it's well needed.
Okay, thank you, Corey, and hopefully you feel better. Okay, if no other public comments, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you for that presentation. The next item is, sorry, let me get to it here. The next checklist, actually, it's North Richmond Bicycle and Pedestrian Network Project. This is another item that will be presented by the Contra Costa County's the Public Works Department. And one comment for Public Works staff, or we're going over on time here, so if you could try to make if you could make the presentation shorter, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, apologies for the pressure. We have another committee meeting in here at 2, so I just need to make sure we have at least like 20, 30 minutes for setup. So sorry about that.
Okay, I'll try to make it quick. To go to the next one, it's just like, okay, great, thank you. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Justin Lin. I'm currently a staff engineer in the Transportation Engineering Division of Contra Costa County Public Works. And today I'll be presenting on the North Richmond Bicycle and Pedestrian Network Project for the regional component of the ATP Cycle 7 grant application and the corresponding NTC checklist. So this project is meant to improve the active transportation experience in North Richmond and will address the deficiencies in the local active transportation network. We will also be installing pedestrian and bicycle facilities where they are currently missing. And this project will focus mainly on sidewalks, Class 2 bike lanes, and Class 3 bikeways. So North Richmond is considered a disadvantaged community. It is also an equity priority community and a priority development area. Many of the residents in this area use active transportation as a means to reach their destinations. So this project will introduce facilities to separate pedestrians and bicyclists from motorists, which will help to enhance their safety. In addition, some other benefits include encouraging the use of active transportation in a more user-friendly environment, and also improving the connectivity between the residential areas and places of employment. The industrial area of North Richmond is currently developing and is projected to experience a lot of job growth in the near future. And North Richmond residents should have the infrastructure and means to use active transportation to access workplaces in this area. Currently, the industrial area in North Richmond has many gaps in its active transportation infrastructure, and this totals to around 4,100 feet of sidewalk and around 9,400 feet of Class 2 bike lanes. And here are some photos of the existing conditions. So both of these pictures are of Fred Jackson Way, one of northbound and one of southbound, and you can see in both pictures that apart from the road, there is a gravelly shoulder with numerous obstructions such as utility poles or shrubbery that would obstruct the path of a pedestrian or a bicyclist. And here are some additional photos of Brookside Drive, again, one going eastbound, and, well, they're both going eastbound, actually. But similar to the pictures in the last slide, again, there is no dedicated space for pedestrians or bicyclists, and they would be forced to either use the shoulder or to travel in the travelway, like the bicyclist you can see in the picture on the right. So our proposed improvements will fill in the gaps that were mentioned before. And again, these include approximately 4,100 feet of sidewalk and 9,400 feet of Class 2 bike lanes. The estimated cost of this project is $5,387,000. And for this grant application, we requested $4,255,000 with a local match of $1,132,000. This is a projected timeline for our project, with the design phase estimated to begin in 2025 and ending in 2027, and the construction phase starting in 2029 and then completing also in 2029. Earlier this year, we met with the North Richmond Municipal Advisory Committee, or MAC, to discuss their community's needs and also the project's details. There has been very strong support from both the MAC and also the community members. Many residents also highlighted the need for pedestrian and bicycle safety around North Richmond, and our next steps are to receive feedback and to revise our project scope as necessary. Thank you for listening, and I will now be happy to take feedback or comments.
All right, thank you for that presentation. First turn to the committee, if you have any comments. All right, don't see or hear anyone. Any public comment, Jackie, on this item?
No public comment received, and I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, actually, Vice Chair Weeks has one comment.
I just, it's not that this isn't a very important and great project, needed project, that we aren't commenting. It's just we're on a time crunch. So, but thank you for doing the project, and it's a great connector and needs to be sorted out, and appreciate the work you did on it. And I actually don't have a question except to say thank you. It's a good presentation and it's very much needed, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the final checklist on today's agenda, which is the Treat Boulevard Corridor Improvements Project. Again, this item will be presented by Contra Costa County Public Works staff.
Hello, everyone. I'll be presenting the Treat Boulevard Corridor Improvements Project as part of the Complete Streets Checklist Review for the Safe Routes to Transit and Bay Trail Grant. Mainly, the project will construct a bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure improvements along Treat Boulevard to promote active transportation and access to public transportation. Briefly, project location is right there. It's at Walnut Creek, central Contra Costa County. Existing conditions and context, project extends from North Main Street to Jones Road. The project area is a transit-oriented development that contains the Pleasant Hill Contra Costa Center BART station and 10 bus stops or lines, high-density housing, and we're looking at all of this in one picture. Here, just showing nearby community landmarks for the sake of time. No need. Yeah, Tree Boulevard has prioritized vehicular transportation with up to 9 lanes, multiple intersections, and free right turns or slip lanes. Without bicycle infrastructure improvements, the first and last mile for transit users are constrained. The Contra Costa Center I-680 Tree Boulevard Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan started in April 2014 and was finalized in October 2017. So this project is basically implementing this plan. So we are far down the line in the implementation phase, and I will talk later about the project schedule. Yeah, the posted speed limit is 35 miles per hour. It's classified by Caltrans as an other principal arterial. And Tree Boulevard intersects the Iron Horse Regional Trail at Jones Road and Interstate 680. Here we are looking at the off-ramp, and as you see, also there's that slip lane, free right turn. And the first picture here, we are looking at the Iron Horse Corridor or the Regional Trail overcrossing. And here, interesting enough, we're looking at the 2018 Countywide Bicycle Pedestrian Plan. It shows Tree Boulevard as a planned Class 2 bike lane, except between Buskirk and Oak Road along the north side or the westbound travel lane. It shows it as a Class 1 or off-street shared use path. And we'll look in a little bit at the project improvements, and we are proposing Class 4 bike lanes for safety. Here, this slide shows that the project is located in Contra Costa Center, a priority development area. And on this slide, this shows that all modes of transportation are impacted by collisions, particularly at intersections. And this project focuses a lot on intersection improvements. Here we're looking at the proposed features. So these are 65% design plans, and they are superimposed on aerials just to see how the project improvements tie into existing. I'm just going to highlight a few features on these segments. So this is the first segment between North Main Street and I-680 off-ramp. So this is mainly the City of Walnut Creek's jurisdiction and Caltrans right-of-way at the overpass. Main improvements include Class 4 bike lanes in each direction, with a buffer that varies between 2 feet and 4.5 feet. Bicyclists will be channelized along the curb in both, so there will be no weaving or they won't have to merge into vehicular traffic, which is an improvement on the plan that was developed in 2017. So yeah, bicyclists will be channelized onto the bike crossings and the crosswalks. And refuge islands are being improved also to be shared by both. So you'll see this like big pad or big area in the center of the refuge islands. Bike crossings are there, bike boxes as well. And yeah, I'll keep going with the other slides. Also, yeah, Class 4 bike lanes between Buskirk Avenue and off-ramp and Oak Road. And as you notice here along the north side of Tree Boulevard, the Class 4 bike lane is going around the BART column just because there was no space as we developed the design. There was no space for a Class 4 to continue, so we just moved the bike lane around the BART column, and then it continues to the Buskirk intersection, and there are improved pedestrian refuge islands that are also going to be shared with bicyclists at the Buskirk intersection. As you note here, also, we are closing the off-ramp, the off-ramp's free right turn, and because it is a requirement by Caltrans, we have to do a traffic impact analysis to make sure that the queuing on the off-ramp won't be insane. So we have requirements for that. So we are switching to 2 right turns, 1 through lane, and 1 left turn. Also, as we saw earlier in the CBPP, we said that we wanted a Class 1 between Oak Road and Buskirk, and that is being achieved here by closing the slip lane from Oak Road southbound onto westbound Treat Boulevard. So all of this will be a bike lane, and then the shared use path will vary in width between 10 feet and 15.5 feet along the north side of Treat Boulevard. Also, bike boxes will be incorporated. And here we are looking at the last segment between Oak Road and Jones Road, same Class 4 bike lanes in each direction. Here, the challenge along the north side is the presence of parking and businesses and Sunny Lane. So there you see a lot of green conflict striping just to notify vehicular drivers of the presence of the bike lane. Also, you know, the closure of another free right turn. This is a main improvement in this project, is closing all the free right turns or signalizing them, like at North Main Street. So, yeah. A project status. Right now, we finished 65% design plan, specifications, and estimate. The project is awaiting environmental clearance with Caltrans, and that is expected by February 2025. A final design to proceed following environmental clearance. Construction is expected for summer 2026. And the reason we're here is the project is seeking additional funds due to the increased estimated construction costs. So we are hoping that we will get $1 million from the Safe Routes to Transit grant to supplement what we have already for construction funds. Thank you, and yeah, I'm here for any questions.
All right, thank you for that presentation. Any committee member comments?
Oh, and may I add something also?
Okay, yeah.
Also, the county is partnering with the city of Walnut Creek for this project because partially the project is within the city's jurisdiction.
All right, thank you. All right, not hearing or seeing any committee member comments. Jackie, do you receive any public comment?
No public comments and no hands raised.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mo, for that presentation.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 5C, which is update on the countywide bicycle and pedestrian plan project list. This item is presented by Colin Clark.
So the update to the countywide bike and ped plan project list, Appendix D from the 2018 adopted bike ped plan, was last adopted by the board in September of 2022 as an update to the 2018 list. And over the last many months, CCTA has been coordinating with each of the local agencies to update the project lists in the sense of removing projects that have been built and constructed and completed, open for public use, also removing projects that are perhaps no longer a priority, or adding projects that weren't already included in the plan. So there's a few jurisdictions still waiting to hear back from, but for the most part, that update is ready for review. So if you use this staff report, or actually I guess it's a memo, if you click on that link to the Vision Zero webpage and then you click on the countywide bike ped plan, you'll see the project lists. So there's the original from 2018, the update from 2022, and now the new update from 2024. And still, the board hasn't yet adopted that. Vision Zero working group will likely review it. So happy to provide or request input from this group today and in writing after today. Thanks.
I think thanks for that update, Colin. Any comments from committee members on this item?
Could you send us the link for that?
There is a link on the attachment piece that was provided in the packet, but we can also send it in addition if you'd like.
That would be nice. Thank
Sure.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No other committee comments? Jackie, receive any public comment on this item?
No public comment and no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we'll move on to item 5D, which is an update on the development of the Countywide Comprehensive Transportation Safety Action Plan. Again, this is another item by Colin.
Thank you, Chair. So, so this Countywide Comprehensive Transportation Safety Action Plan planning effort has been going on for the past year or so, and over the last couple of months has gone through the regional transportation planning advisory committees, the technical advisory committees at the staff level, and also the policy advisory committees with the electeds. And so, and it's gone to CBPAC, you recall, in July to review the draft. And it's gone to TCC, the Technical Coordinating Committee, in October, and has a couple more RTBC meetings to request input, but it'll be going to the Planning Committee in December and the Board in December as recommendation from staff for adoption of the draft plan, and it's also included at that same link that you have for the item previous to this one, to review that draft and provide input in writing. Feel free to email or call me. What else? Yeah, this was MTC funded, so the timeline is to adopt before funding expires by the end of the calendar year. So, and this plan helped fund some of the grant applications that were assembled as part of this, including one successful one that I'll talk about in the next item.
Okay, thank you for that update, Colin. And any comments on this item from committee members? All right, hearing none. Jackie, we receive any public comment?
No public comment and no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Next, item 5E, which is other business and information sharing. Is there any information from committee members or staff that would like to share? Vice Chair Weeks.
Just a quick one. I'm super excited about it, so I just can't keep it quiet. We are working with the East Bay Regional Parks in San Ramon now. They reached out to us at the last corridor management meeting to develop a concept of double tracking in San Ramon on the Iron Horse Trail, and working with the mobility element that's part of the corridor's planning structure to, I guess, rationalize how the trail is managed through San Ramon. And we're going to focus in probably, it's not all decided, but probably between Crow Canyon Road and Bollinger Canyon Road, between the new overcrossing bridge and then the next new overcrossing bridge. And we're hoping to work with the county and the parks to develop a kind of a toolkit that can be applied for the entire trail system at some point. So the idea is to separate things with wheels from things with feet, or things with wheels and feet from things that are just feet. So I'm trying to think of the best way to talk about it, acoustic versus electric or something, but I think it's more, a pedestrian, foot-oriented from wheels. So, and we'll be working on that over the next, probably 2 years to hopefully get this rolled out at the same time that the bridges are going in, so keep tabs on that. And some money's coming from Supervisor Anderson's office, so we're thankful to Supervisor Anderson for finding those funds to start the ball rolling, and thought you guys would be excited to hear about it, so thanks.
All right, thank you. Colin, I saw your hand up earlier.
Sure. So as part of the Countywide Comprehensive Transportation Safety Action Plan, there were grant applications developed, 2 multi-jurisdiction applications as part of the Safe Routes to Trails and Transit, or Bay Trail, Transit and Bay Trail. But also in August, CCTA submitted the Safe Streets and Roads for All, SS4A, as part of the 3rd round. And so on Friday was the public announcement from USDOT headquarters. So CCTA will be a recipient a repeat recipient of SS4A, this time not for implementation, but for planning and demonstration. So there's 6 different agencies that are participating in this multi-jurisdiction application. So really appreciate the opportunity to work with our local partners. Thanks.
All right. Good news, Colin. Thank you. All right. Any other committee member comments? Committee member Olson.
Yeah, isn't the new bridge going to have its ribbon cutting ceremony this Saturday?
That's for Dublin, yes? Is that what's?
Oh, that's Dublin, not
Yeah.
San Ramon. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
there's a ribbon cutting ceremony this Saturday. Unfortunately, rain is predicted.
Yeah, the Ironhorse Trail in San Ramon, the Bollinger Overcrossing should be wrapping up in around, we're thinking August 2025. So we'll definitely have a huge party then.
All right, thank you. And definitely sunnier, I think, August. Okay, if no other committee member comments, we'll move on to item E, which is, actually not E, sorry. It's, item F, which is upcoming subjects for discussion. So if any committee members or staff, do you have anything you'd like to add to a future agenda? All right, hearing none. And Colin, there's no items. Just want to make sure the staff that. Okay, all right. So we'll move on to item 6, which is adjournment. So our meeting's adjourned. My clock here, 1:35. Next meeting is proposed for January 27th, 2025.
Recording stop.